Hi guys, bear with me for 10 seconds. This weekend is my wife Andrea's birthday, and she is the hardest person to buy for, but she is the most special person to me in the world. And if it wasn't for Andrea, there may not even be a Beast of War. So, Andrea, this weekend you turn 21 again, and I just want you to know that you have absolutely made me the happiest man alive. Our family, our life together, it's been absolutely wonderful. And sweetheart, I want to wish you the happiest birthday that I can. I love you very much. Right, on with the show.
OnTableTop have teamed up with Games Workshop, Cyanide Studio, and Focus Home Interactive to bring you the very exciting Space Hulk Tactics Hobby Challenge. All you have to do is come across to OnTabletop.com, create a project, anything related to Space Hulk. It could be a story, painting project, or whatever you can imagine. And you could be in with the chance of winning the great Space Hulk Tactics video game and an actual copy of Space Hulk 3rd Edition. We have a load of prizes, a load of categories. Come across and check it out.
Hello everyone and welcome to The Weekender, your stop for everything fun that can happen on a tabletop.
Is it everything? I haven't signed up for everything that can happen on the tabletop.
Across from me is Jerry, who should have read the fine print of his contract.
Apparently.
And up on the screen, we have Ben.
Hello.
How are you guys doing?
Not too bad, thank you, not too bad. Enjoying some more stuff from the Tabletop this week, being fun to see what's going on and stuff, and eager to dive into some news and all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah. You're sounding a little hoarse there, Ben. You doing all right?
I am, yes. I think the Nurgle plague has somehow infected me once again. I'm not entirely sure whether Darth Infectus is back, but I'm sure he will make an appearance at some point.
Yeah, just so you all know, currently both Ben and myself are down with the lurgy, so Jerry is living in fear of Nurgle's blessing.
He needs John's plague mask.
Yeah.
To be fair, there's so much preventative whiskey in my system, I think I'm fine. I'm grand. It's not going to hurt.
Well, there's been plenty of exciting stuff going on the OnTabletop website, and in, of course, the gaming community as a whole this week. First of all, we had the 200th comic of Justins Dragins this week.
We did indeed.
So for those of you who don't know, on the OnTabletop website, we have a series of little webcomics done by Caesar, who has been making us laugh with 200 of these things now. Most of them are little in-jokes from The Weekender or the XLBS.
What started off was just his own little... Whenever something struck him as amusing, and he would throw it up there on the site, to getting his own channel and sort of do it on a weekly basis, or sometimes more than once a week, depending on how ridiculous people have been on camera. So.
Yeah. Well, there's definitely plenty of material there.
Oh yeah, very much so.
Yeah. Do you have a favourite one of those 200?
I think it's the first time I appeared as some sort of massive giant with a tiny teacup, my legs up my head as I'm trying to sit. I felt like Gandalf or the table of hobbits in front of me.
Well, don't you feel like that any day? Anyway?
Most days. It's just it's nice to be appreciated.
It's like, you know, that old trick of two kids sitting on each other's shoulders in a trench coat.
Yes.
You're what happens when two adults try that.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. As well as that, we've also got another of Lance's series for Tales from the Loop. Now, Lance has been giving us his insight for his Tales from the Loop RPG campaign for a few weeks now, and the most recent one is pretty exciting because it's Wizarding World custom rules.
So this is it's actually his friend Michael who runs the campaign, who's known as Atheled on the website if you want to go and check him out. But yeah, he's been putting together this really awesome sort of custom rule set for playing in the Potterverse, as it were. So he's got some really cool ideas in there for sort of how you change up your stats to try and mix them into what's happening in the Harry Potter world, as well as a table for rolling up your own wand as well, which I thought was absolutely fantastic. And as soon as I read through this article, because I was editing it together for the website, I was like, man, I want to play in this world. I need to be in this world now. I want to make my own wand. I want to be a wizard. So yeah, it was very cool. and the wealth of different ideas for encounters for this game are just tenfold. I mean, not only have you got all the stuff that happened in the books, but there's all the stuff in the expanded universe as well, and loads of really cool ideas. Maybe you do something in Gringotts, or do something in Diagon Alley where you're like looking for your stuff before you go to Hogwarts and things like that. And the castle itself is huge and expansive and full of secrets. So there's so many different things you could do, and in so many different time periods as well.
I absolutely love the idea of role-playing in Harry Potter. It's one of those ones that I've always wondered, why aren't there official role-play rules for this?
Yeah, it's one of those things. It depends how widely they want to spread licenses. Because years ago, you got things like GURPS, so Steve Jackson's generic universal roleplay system, and with that, you got GURPS Indiana Jones. There was a Tank Girl when the Laurie Petty movie came out, although it drew more on the comic than the movie, which is not a bad thing.
Definitely not. I've seen that film.
It had its moments. But anyway, yeah. So. Depending on how big the IP is, some of them are more restrictive because they don't want to hand over, here's a carte blanche, whereas other IPs have been saved practically. But Star Wars is a prime example. Star Wars went nowhere after the original trilogy. Once the sort of Kenner toys and that sort of thing disappeared, it kind of died. But West End Games had the RPG license, and they ran with it for years, and stuff that they designed became canon. And even though Disney now own it and went back and went, oh, some of this expanded universe stuff doesn't exist, they've kept most of the West End Games RPG stuff as canon. So it's gone from the RPG into canon, and Disney went, actually, we're keeping that because that's all great. So depending on the company and the IP, it can be a big hit or a big miss. The detail work that's gone into this, though, is just insane.
Yeah, if we bring that up again.
The things like the artwork that he's included, and he's just a talented fella.
Yeah. The interesting thing about you see the little picture at the end there. That's Lance's own character,
right?
Who always has equipment for the things that he needed to do last adventure.
All right.
So he always has everything he ever needs,
but just slightly behind,
which I thought was really fun. And he's got a little tiny owl companion and stuff. So, man, just when everyone else was talking about this, I was really, really drawn into it. And Tales from the Loop is such a good system anyway for playing out those kind of like Stranger Things style adventures that it translates over perfectly into Harry Potter, where you've got these groups of kids going out and trying to do like interesting mystery adventures and investigations in lands that are effectively ruled by adults. So yeah,
well, that's it.
Cool.
The fact it is based on kids being kids and being young kids and having those sort of Goonie-esque adventures is fantastic. I can't think of a better system for it, because most systems will have some form of injury or death mechanic, which you don't really want with kids kicking around. Although the follow-up Tales from the Loop moves it to teenagers, and that is a possibility. So it'll be interesting to see where people run with that. Because that just could that be then the end of the Harry Potterverse, where you have that death type of thing. It means you could just transition across, because the core mechanics will be the same, but with those more deathly things sort of added.
Yeah. To be fair, those sort of rules for death should be in a Harry Potter game from the start, because that school was not run according to health and safety regs.
No, it really wasn't. There was an awful lot of, instead of giving you detention, I'm going to send you into the forest of death.
Yeah, we're full of werewolves. Yeah,
by yourself for half an hour. Go and stand there.
Nah.
Come back.
Having been a teacher, there were times when I wish I could have done that.
I can understand that.
Yeah, could you imagine though if that was the case? Harry Potter and the Ofsted inspectors.
Paints a whole other image, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, not quite the magical adventure.
Yeah.
But no,
I'm afraid you're falling behind on reading, writing, and arithmetic. Oh, Hogwarts is going to be shut down. Sorry.
Yeah, it's not the Dark Lord that does it in the end.
You're all going to be moved to some sort of comprehensive in Ipswich. Good luck, fellas.
Oh, fate worse than death. Okay, well, yeah. If you're interested in that, definitely check out the article. It looks like a ton of fun. It's one I really want to play now as well. I really want to go to Hogwarts, get assigned my house. Hufflepuff for the win.
Hufflepuff, woo!
Yeah.
I have no idea what they're talking about. Sugar puff for the way. Don't forget the honey mummy. No, that was close.
We will educate you after the show.
Oh dear, talking about 1984. So moving on then.
Yes, definitely. Now we're heading on to the news, and there is some pretty exciting stuff going on. Starting off with some new things for Adeptus Titanicus. Ben, if you want to take us through this?
Yeah, sure. So this week, Games Workshop, we're talking about some of the new stuff that's coming out for Adeptus Titanicus, as you said there. This is going to be a new Warlord Titan kit, as well as there's also going to be stuff for the Reaper Titan as well. There's a couple of new weapon options. So you've got the Plasma Annihilators, as well as the Ariok Titan Power Claw. And then you've got on the other side for the Reaper, you've got Melter Cannons and Chain Fist, which is pretty awesome as well. The big thing about this as well that came out is that to begin with, Games Workshop were only going to be including these in a new Titan kit. So you had to go and buy yourself a new Titan and all the weapons separately, and the weapons together. But now they're going to be offering the weapons separately, which I thought was really cool. So they've actually listened to community feedback on that one, which was really good stuff. As well as that, you can also get yourself some new of the tiny knights. So you've got some Cerastus Knight Lancers in there as well, which you may have already seen in larger 28mm form, but now you can get them in 8mm as well. Sort of running around at the sort of knee height, shin height of the Warlord Titans, poking things in places where they shouldn't be.
Nobody wants to be poked with a laser lance.
No one wants to be poked with a laser lance,
or even a regular lance,
or even But yeah, there's some fantastic stuff coming out for this. It's really nice to see them supporting it. Although it was very interesting to hear from the community in some of the comments underneath, where they were saying that they actually don't really have a lot of time within the 40k sphere right now to actually play a lot of Adeptus Titanicus, and a lot of people are still sort of gravitating towards playing both Warhammer 40,000 and Kill Team over something like Adeptus Titanicus, but hopefully it still retains that core audience that people that love the game, and they'll be continuing to add to it from a couple of months to come. So yeah,
It's something about GW's release schedule at the moment. They're almost saturating the market to the detriment of their own games. You no longer have a chance to go, here's a new game, here's a couple of months for it to bed in, get some games in, like Speed Freaks or Blackstone Fortress or Adeptus Titanicus, whatever it is. Before you've got a chance to buy it, unbox it, paint it, they've got another 2 or 3 games have come out in that interim. Now, it does mean that if Titans aren't your thing, then there will be something along next week that might be your thing. So it's handy in that respect. You're not having a 6-month wait for the next Hobbit release or whatever it happens to be that is your bag.
I'm still waiting for the next Hobbit release.
But there's just so much all the time coming from GW at the moment. It's frightening. I think it's the best way to put it.
Yeah, well, just so you're aware, Sam, this weekend, I believe, or it might be next weekend at this point, there's going to be a huge release of a whole bunch of the old metal miniatures back onto the web store. So watch out for that. So. Yeah.
I can't wait to see what else they come up with for the Hobbit releases. But yeah, off target. We're talking about Adeptus Titanicus. So tell me more about the Hobbit releases, Ben.
Well, it's a whole bunch of the awesome old metal stuff that everyone wants, but was in the rulebook and no one wanted. Well, no one could get. So yeah, watch out for that. But anyway, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Now, on the Adeptus Titanicus stuff, the ones I particularly love there have to be the knights with the big pokey things.
Yeah. I kind of miss the old Lancers. Years ago, when they first came out, they had some more centaur-like robots. So there were actually 4-legged versions of those Lancers.
Wow.
That was how they started. And they were just great, because if you wanted something to charge up and stick a lance into somebody, I'll have the giant robo horse, please. They're quite nice. I mean, but they just look like tiny little mechs, whereas they could have been centaurs.
Yeah, a giant robo centaur sounds amazing. That would have been
really
brilliant. Yeah. I mean, I love those knight models.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering, how viable are the wee knights in the game? Are they particularly useful when compared to the massive titans they're going alongside?
It's one of those... I was going to say, sorry, Joe. From what I've heard, actually, from a lot of people who play the game, they're actually really interesting, because you've got the big titans walking around, but obviously they're very, very slow. And the knights can actually sprint around behind the backs of other titans and sort of pick off key systems as well, especially when you mix them in with some of the smaller ones like the Warhound as well. So yeah, they are still very viable as a tactical choice for a lot of people.
It's all about getting the material down on the table. So when you're playing, you don't want to be playing across a featureless bit of terrain, because at that point the game becomes whoever gets the first turn and gets a good hit wins. because the weapons are so devastating. But where Adeptus Titanicus has always really excelled is having those built-up streets. It's having the Titans walking between skyscrapers that come up to their shoulders, and at that point where you've got the narrow channels, the alleys, the roadways, that's when the speed and nimbleness of the smaller Titans really come in, because they can get around the back. Either you've not got a void shield to your rear, at which point stabby good fun, or they get around there and they strip off the shields, allowing your big Titan to come around the corner and then deliver the knockout blow. So yeah, it's all about how you use them and how your table's set up.
Perfect.
All terrain, all the time. Best way to go with the table.
Yeah. I'd say that for almost any game. The more terrain, the more eye-catching the table, the more fun you're going to have with the game itself. Have either of you had a chance to play this latest Adeptus Titanicus?
No, I've not been near any Titans in years, unfortunately.
Oh, that's a shame.
I think so.
Yeah, we're definitely going to have to see if we can get a game of that in the studio at some point, because I love the look of it. Okay, moving on, we have some exciting things happening for board games with Betrayal Legacy. Ben, what's happening here?
Cool, yeah. So this was announced, I think it was towards the end of last year, but Betrayal Legacy, which is Betrayal at the House of the Hill, was a massive favourite with us, and it's a big, huge, fantastic gateway game for a lot of people. But now one of the new games that's come out is Betrayal Legacy, and this takes the formula of the original games, where you're sort of doing that kind of like Scooby-Doo mystery style thing, going around a house trying to solve all kinds of different strange hauntings, and adding a legacy mechanic into the mix. Now you're going to be playing as individual families that were all affected by the house in some way up until the modern day, and you're going to be playing through each of these different scenarios and setting up the history and the sort of all the different strange goings on that happened in this house between each of these different scenarios, and then eventually producing a game that you can play on that's very, very unique to you, a little bit like what we saw with Risk Legacy back in the day, where you kind of played through a whole bunch of different legacy games and then you had a game to play Risk on at the very end. This kind of thing does the same thing, where you play through a whole bunch of different individual scenarios that sort of build up the story for your house, and then at the very end you get to sit down and play through games of Betrayal at the House of the Hill on your own unique board, which I thought was really cool. It's done by the guys that are all behind a lot of these legacy games. So Rob Davio's involved in all that kind of thing as well, which is really good to see. And I just love the idea of this, and especially since I've been watching, I think it's The Haunting of House Hill, which is on Netflix at the moment, and so playing a lot more games that are all about hauntings and spooky things is very cool to me.
I've got to say, I'm really excited for this one. I love Betrayal at a House on the Hill. It's a really fun game, but I'm a little confused how they're going to work legacy elements into a game focused like that, when the main draw of Betrayal at House on the Hill was each time you played it, you didn't know who the traitor was going to be. How are you going to do that with characters who carry over?
Yeah. Well, the same kind of thing is going to happen between each of the different scenarios, where each of the different families that are affected by the house will have a certain sort of scenario that's played out, and within that family, one of you will be the traitor. The hidden traitor mechanic is still going to be happening in the sort of the mix of all that. But then that's just going to translate across, I think it's, I believe it's like 13 chapters, plus a prologue as well. So you're going to be playing as each of these different playing through each of these different times with the same kind of traitor mechanic that you've seen in Betrayal at the House of the Hill normally. But then the whole idea of this is it starts to weave together this entire story of the house and how it came to be the place that it is now that you play through all your games in. So they're still going to have some interesting mechanical stuff going on in the background for that.
I suppose with it being divided up into families and chapters, you don't need to worry too much about this is what's happened, this is our legacy, because that's the family that we're here at this time. They're all gone now. A new family moves in.
And it'll have some carryover into the next scenarios that you play through, but it'll still very much feel like self-contained games with a sort of overlying narrative as well. So
yeah, because the star of this show is the house,
yes.
not the family.
Yeah.
Definitely. So. Have you played Betrayal at House on the Hill before?
No.
That is one we're definitely making you play at some point, because that is so much fun. And I get the feeling, Jerry, you would turn into the slide on those.
See, the problem I have with games like this is with the group I play with, anytime there's any chance for anybody to be backstabbed, everybody immediately turns on me on grounds to get the retaliation in first. So any sort of betrayal game like this just means I'm going to get nuked in the first couple of minutes.
Well, in the first half, no one knows who the traitor is, including
won't stop
the
them.
traitor. It's a cooperative game at the start.
Yeah, sure. Oh, yeah.
They'll steal all your stuff, Jerry.
They'll be cooperatively deciding how best to absolutely neuter me for the rest of the game. So if we all get together now, take a stuff, push him in the bath, we can off 'em at our leisure later on.
Now, do you mean that in the game, or is that
Bit of column A, bit of column B.
LARPing Betrayal at House on the Hill? I like it. Okay, moving on from that, we've got something to do with Fallen Frontiers and the second edition release.
Yeah, so this is just a little bit of news to just remind a lot of people, because it kind of came out of the blue for me actually. But Scale 75 actually released the second edition version of the rules for Fallen Frontiers. If you've seen this game before, I believe it was Indiegogo. It was certainly on some kind of fundraising platform, and they brought out a whole bunch of amazing sort of 35mm style alien races and sci-fi armies for you to use in their game called Fallen Frontiers. Previous to this, they'd done a whole bunch of different characters and busts for this sort of universe, but they kind of sort of added a game into the mix as well. The game went down quite well. People very much enjoyed it, but I think they were trying to give it a new lease of life and sort of sort out a couple of the kinks in the rules as well. So with this new second edition of the game, you get the two sort of main factions that everyone knows. So you've got the Ares and the Rift factions. The Rift themselves are probably some of the coolest looking aliens I think I've ever seen on a tabletop ever. I love these guys. But yeah, new edition of the game coming out, a new box set for you to go and pick up. It's got all the stuff you need in there, including the cards and the dice and all the other additional accessories and things like that. And as I say, from what people have said, they've sort of streamlined and tweaked the rules to make it a lot easier to play. The miniatures themselves are slightly bigger than what a lot of people will probably be used to playing on the tabletop, especially with something that's a lot more sort of focused on the idea of having larger squads and characters rather than sort of it being like a skirmish warband. So looking at things like Bushido in 35mm and stuff. But yeah, the game looks really fantastic. The miniatures look really good. Hopefully a lot of the problems with the rules that they had first time around have been ironed out for a lot of people. And yeah, definitely want to go and check out. It's one of those sort of underlying sci-fi games that I think a lot more people should play. So.
Yeah, I have to say I completely missed the fact that Scale 75 had released the game.
Really?
Yeah. Which is a shame because their stuff is absolutely gorgeous.
It is amazing.
And I mean, I came at them from the other point of view where I was after their paint range, and then because of their paints, I discovered that they did the busts and the like. But these figures are absolutely gorgeous.
Now, I remember we actually received a few copies of the Fallen Frontiers busts, I think near the start of the year, because it was just after I'd been brought on as content manager that we got some of those in. I remember filming with John about those. Mm-hmm. They are some absolutely beautiful sculpts. Yeah. The models are superb. Yeah, Scale 75 do some of the highest quality sculpts out there at the moment for characters.
I think that's probably why they went for a slightly larger size as well, because they are very much a painter's company. So it gives you a bit more of a canvas to play with, and those big sort of sweeping flat areas of armor and the like on it is something where you can put down a flat color and a bit of a highlight and a wash, or if you are a real hardline figure painter, you can go nuts on sort of flat panels like that, which it's always it really is a blank canvas to play with.
They always look like miniatures that I think are crying out to be done with airbrushes. I think that seems to be the case with these, although obviously people like Angel Heraldus and stuff will work wonders on these with brushes as well.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I will not allow myself to go near them because
you've still got hobbits to paint, that's why.
No, I don't.
No.
I have pretty much finished painting my Hobbit army.
Nobody's ever finished.
No, I'm gonna buy more. The Hobbit army must grow. The Shire will expand. The Empire will grow. Moving on, we've got a board game that I'm really excited to see about, and this is the Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell board game.
So Osprey Games are jumping into the mix in sort of, I think it's early 2019 with this new game, which actually comes from a couple of different board game designers who already worked on some fantastic stuff for, I think it was War of the Rings 2nd edition, so you've got a good pedigree behind it here. But this is for a book series, and also it was developed into a TV series that I actually really, really want to go and check out, and I actually know very little about. But the game sounds really fun, where you're playing as Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, as well as some of the other characters from the book, heading around England and Europe, attending social engagements and performing feats of magic in the hope of becoming the most celebrated magicians of the age, because you're bringing magic back to life within the world of, I think it's sort of Victorian sort of England and Europe and stuff, and trying to bring it back to life across the country and things. The game looks fantastic from what we can see here. The artwork looks lovely and looks very much in keeping with the idea of that kind of Victoriana style that we really enjoy. And it's going to be sort of a mix between sort of doing all these sort of feats of magic, but also trying to, I think it's avoid a certain character. I can't remember his name.
The gentleman with the thistledown hair.
That's the one, yeah. So it's all about trying to avoid him while also trying to, show off how magical you can be as well. But yeah, as you say, Sam, I think you really enjoy the sound of this one. Have you actually read the book and stuff for this? Or
Yes, I have. In my opinion, the book Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell is one of the greatest works of fantasy to have come out in the past few decades.
Wow.
It is.
I definitely need to read it then.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this because a few years back I wrote an article series on things that deserve a game, and Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell made my list. So someone's been reading my list.
Somebody was listening. Somebody at Osprey.
Yeah. Well, the great thing about Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, I would definitely recommend reading it, or the audiobook is great. The TV series is very good too. The characters are well acted. It's alternate history. The whole idea is
This didn't happen, you mean? There weren't magicians in the Napoleonic Wars?
I'm sorry to disappoint you, Jerry.
Oh.
Napoleonic.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, that's precisely what it is. Jonathan Strange gets sent off to take part in the Battle of Waterloo at one point in the book. There's a great line in it that I think sums the whole feel of the novel up, and that is when Strange is having dinner with the Duke of Wellington. It's just, could a magician kill a man by magic? And Strange just goes, I suppose a magician could, but a gentleman never could.
And I imagine when Wellington was saying that, he was saying that in the form of Stephen Fry.
Almost definitely had to be Stephen Fry.
Of course.
Now, if you haven't read Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, it's a really, really rich, deep book that you can get into, full of footnotes referencing this entire made-up selection of books about magic in history.
Sounds so good.
This alternate history where magic had once been real, and there had once been a separate kingdom in England, the kingdom of the Raven King, and now that's faded away, and magic is viewed as a pastime for genteel men who wouldn't actually cast magic. No, they wouldn't do anything so gauche. Of course, they can't do it.
Well,
it's just a beautiful book.
I haven't read the book, but I did enjoy the TV series. So it'd be interesting to see how they go with it, especially that sort of board game feel where I see, visiting a fancy party in York and that sort of affair. It feels very similar to the TV series where they are being invited to come along and show off, essentially.
Yeah, they're being presented to fashionable society at that time. It has one of the best villains as well, the gentleman with the thistledown hair, who is a fairy and is absolutely terrifying in the book. So I like that they're included, but not as a player character, more as just this agent of chaos thrown into the middle of it all. Is this one either of you think you're going to give a go?
Oh yeah, definitely. Now you've told about this, I need to read the book, watch the TV show, and also buy the game. So.
You do have plenty of time. It's not coming out until the middle of next year. So.
Read the book, Ben. I need someone else to have read this thing so I can geek out about
Plenty
it.
of people have read it. Just go on the internet. That's what it's for.
Yeah.
If you've read the book, talk to Sam below. He needs a friend.
Is this just find Sam a book friend?
Yeah,
now?
find Sam a book friend.
Yeah.
There's bound to be some.
It's so lonely.
It's so lonely being the only Sam in the village.
Yeah, okay, moving on. Well, now we've got something pretty exciting because the guys from Mythic came over recently to talk about their new game, Reichbusters, that is coming to Kickstarter.
Hey everybody, I am joined in the studio by Az and Leo from Mythic Games, and I'm sure you can probably guess what we're here to talk about.
Reichbusters.
That's the most lyrical Reichbusters I think I've heard in the entire build up to this campaign. That's definitely the most soulful. That was lovely.
So, guys, the game is closing in on its Kickstarter launch. I am super, super, super excited. I want to get playing. I want to see the miniatures done. I want it to be about, what, a year in the future so this game is delivered?
That's the plan. I mean, you're a couple of days away, depending on when you're watching this. 20th of November is when we're launching for just a 10-day campaign. So at the end of November, that's where you have to be in before the end of November.
Yeah, so it's get in, do not miss out. And yeah, this is one you don't want to miss. I'm going to say it right now. This is my personal seal of approval. Get in on this game.
Well, we're going to give a bit of an overview of it today. We're going to talk about a little bit about the world, a little bit about the heroes, about the enemies, a little bit about what our plans are with the Kickstarter and kind of how the game plays. But we will be doing a full playthrough with you guys.
Oh yes, of course. You are not getting out of this studio without doing a full playthrough with me.
I'm nervous because Warren has gotten very excited about sargeting up and telling us all what to do, and I'm bricking it.
I'm sure we'll be fine. Okay, so you guys have brought along some images. You've brought along beautifully painted miniatures by Seb Levine. You've got some prototype components. So the game is still in development. I want to make that caveat right now because you work on a game until final day and it heads to the printer. So that's super important.
That's right.
For people to know.
It's very important because we want the feedback. This is why we have been playtesting it a lot. It was at Essen. It was recently at Salon Fantastique. It will also be at Ludigeek. And even during the campaign, it will still be tested and demoed, and even after and during the pledge manager and up till we go to the printer. So this is our style. We want to have the best polished and refined game as possible. This is why we work till the very end for Joan of Arc.
Yes.
We're very proud of the rules we have delivered to the printer. I think they're really, really nice, and this is what we will be doing with this one as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're still embracing the Kickstarter love. We love our community on Kickstarter. We're so thankful. The guys on Facebook, on Discord, and the guys who buzz us all the time with ideas and suggestions. It means the world to us, and Reichbusters is no different, even though it's a smaller campaign compared to what we're doing in the past. We still want to get out there early, get a chance to refine ideas. We've had that S, and we had some amazing ideas go through that a lot of them were giving to the development team to say, right guys, we had to hold ourselves back a little. We had to Reichbusters is definitely grounded in weird World War II or weird War II, whatever way you want to put it. So there's stuff in there that you'll recognize as weapons and uniforms and things that you'll know. We had to hold our artists and our sculptors and our ideas back a little to say, let's just try and cram it all into one or two boxes with the stretch goals. And if it does well, you never know where we could go.
The good thing is, as it's a smaller project, it will be easier also to deliver. And so we're really counting on 11 months delivery. So by November 2019.
That's what we'd like.
Okay, awesome. Right, well, you're saying it's grounded, and I have to say, for the beginning of it, with the artwork, it instantly draws you into this world.
This sets the scene straight off the bat. We want to kind of open with this to show you this is what you're going to be facing. It's a group of players getting together to form a team of Reichbusters, these allied heroes who are going to be delving deep into the research labs, the castle, the bunkers of this Nazi research, this Vril research, this technology which might turn the tide of the war. And you're going to find yourself in these situations where you're relying on the person beside you to get you out. You're relying on teamwork and raw energy and heroism. I can't say that word, heroism, to battle your way through.
The art is by Guilhem, that we have seen on Solomon Kane recently. He's done all the art for this. So we have some new artists. So Guilhem did this as well. So this is the castle where this story is taking place. We might have some other season if this one works. It first focuses where it all started, where they're doing these experiments, and it's in this castle in the heart of Germany.
Anyone who knows our games in the past, obviously with Joan of Arc and Solomon Kane, were really big on art. So we made a really conscious decision to work with not only Guilhem Pongilupi, who we worked with on Solomon Kane, but also Catalan L'Artiste as well. So you'll see from the box, our heroes are animated, over the top, almost cartoonish, bold, brave, colourful characters, whereas the Nazis, the Vril research, the enemies you're going to be coming up against are embracing this dark, sinister, grim side. So we've really gone with a double focus game.
Catalan L'Artiste, for those who don't know him, is a game artistic director of Gameloft, which is a video game company, and he designed Brothers in Arms 3, which is also a pulp World War II game. This time it's more Weird War II, but yes, he has a
even just with this, I mean, like I am instantly into the world. I've got the old school music playing in the back of my head, just drawing me in, and that's exactly what you want.
What they are opening here, this red light, this is Vril. This is the miraculous energy that they have discovered that can give them an edge and change the tide of the war.
I see. All right, shall we move along?
Yeah.
Okay. Aha.
Yeah. This is just a glimpse. Right, before we get into the guts of it all, to show you that things are not always going to be going to plan. It is a fully cooperative game, but the heroes will be one-upping each other to try and take out as many Nazis and as many Vril mutations and monstrosities and animations as they can. And we expect it to be full-on gory once you're in the depths of it. Once you're actually in and you're in the middle of a mission, things will go crazy. But that's not how every mission will start.
This is artwork by Bayard Wu, who did the cover for Joan of Arc. And this will be the cover for the rule book.
I have to say the characters are glorious. Although I love the French character on the right hand side here. She looks like she's having an absolute ball of a time.
That's Claudine. She's all about rage and vengeance and showing that the French can fight, that she's going to fight to her last breath, and she's the character that revels in getting in and getting some vengeance back.
All right, well here's our first character. Let's actually start talking about them a little bit and meeting some of the characters.
So in the core box, we're going to have five heroes, and all the heroes initially are all focused on allied, very distinctive nations. And we'll have quite a lot of them, although we're not going to have them all. There was obviously a lot of allied nations, but we're going to have a lot of stretch goals, so hopefully with support we can include as many as we can. So this is Sarge. He's your American grizzled badass. He's a mixture of a leader who can support and guide the other heroes, help them move, help them have actions, and kind of power them forward into the objective, while also being a little bit brash himself. He throws grenades a bit haphazardly. He's a bit more explosive. He's not the best at being quiet in the early stages of missions.
I'm kind of guessing this because
he's also a tanker, right? He's very resistant. Right?
He's a tanker in the sense that he can take a lot of hits. He's very tough. He likes to kind of get in there, take a punch, and then fight back. He's no problem counterattacking and getting involved.
I see. Well, I mean, like we see him here, and we've got the miniature on the table.
Show him off,
and I cannot resist but show this off. So
there he is. He got there. So yes, he is our frontline leader. He is the guy that plays both as a support and a kind of solo one-man machine where he's like, I've got this. I can do this on my own. I don't need everybody else.
He will make the other shine. Really. He has these kind of cards.
And he's kind of seen it all before. He's kind of that guy that's like, Nazis, war, even weird weapons and technologies. He's been there, but he'll not really have seen the likes of stuff the further into the missions that the heroes go.
Yeah, because you don't really know what to expect. And the more you go into this game, the more you'll discover.
Well, I mean, like, you hear the Nazi scientists are doing some very strange research. You're going to go in and check it out. We've seen some very strange red fluid-powered weapons. Wait, what's that other thing in there?
Yeah,
that's scary.
We'll get to it. Oh, we will.
All right. Next up, we have Quentin.
Quentin's actually, this is my favorite character on the tabletop because Quentin defines the kind of stealthy, silent English kind of schoolboy toff. He's very like, oh, piff, piff, oh boy, oh, Rule Britannia. He's very polite, very, very enigmatic, smokes a pipe, and takes a bow as his primary weapon to war. Yeah, a little unusual.
Little nod to Mad Jack Churchill.
We've got a few little nods back to actual veterans and history. He, for me, he shines in the early part of missions. So when you look at the art on him, you can see him. He's very slender. And we look at the mini. We've kind of duplicated that to show him as being someone who's more focused on his knives, his stealth, his rope, and his bow. He's very good at dodging damage, opening doors quietly, picking up and rifling through items, and then taking enemies down in quick succession without making
quite a lot of noise. Items, actually.
He does, but he's you can tell again he's an older character. He's again been here before, and he's used to breaking into places quietly.
Yeah.
He really is the kind of character that in the early stage when you're playing this game can shine because you want to get as far as you can into the research labs, into the bunkers, and into the castle before you're detected. And Quentin's great at supporting the team in those moments before the Sarge chucks grenades into rooms and blows stuff up.
Yeah, well, I mean, like if you look to the trailer that you guys did, which is beautiful, by the way.
Thank you.
You have that moment where you have the Nazi soldier going, "Halt!" and him just like, "No, old boy.
Yeah,
Go to sleep now."
That's it. And this is something that really, when you play the game, you can have people opening doors to rooms, people finding patrols, and then it's the next kind of act. It's the person you had waiting in the shadows who's going to deal with that threat immediately, and dealing with threats quickly and keeping the noise down is key to Reichbusters when you get into the gameplay.
Very cool. Next up, we have Red Hawk. This is my favorite character. I'm going to say that now. Who doesn't love a female Russian sniper who just looks pissed off as hell?
That's it. You know, we haven't really told anyone about how she got her scars yet, or really spoken much about her backstory just yet, because we've got a lot of development we could do with these heroes.
Hey, Leo, I'll buy you dinner.
And whiskey.
always wouldn't you?
If you want it, I'll buy it.
So she's the kind of hunter almost. She was a hunter before she was a soldier. She's ever the one that gets into position first, that covers the backs of the other allied heroes and waits for her moment to strike. She's waiting until she'll stay in position, she'll stay in her pose until she just picks off that one enemy who's going to cause the problem, or she gets a group of enemies in her sights and takes out multiple in quick succession. That way, this is a guy, she's got the semi-automatic rifle that's going to allow her to pop off 4 or 5 enemies in quick succession. So instead of making a lot of noise separated like a Thompson or multiple different shots, she fires them on quick one go, so it is over like a flash.
Yeah.
She's for the kind of player that doesn't mind waiting an extra turn or two for their time to really shine and just have a moment to save the team.
Well, it's a gorgeous mini. Some of the details that you're including in the miniatures that just help tell the story of the miniature are gorgeous. So if we have a look on her rifle, seeing just the little kill markings on her, and just having, you know, the tiny little details, so just all the little bits of weapons, pouches, stuff like that, it really helps tell the story of the miniature and bring it to life for me, which I'm loving.
Yeah, and at the moment, you know, all these characters are the best of the best from all the allied nations that are being brought together to form this elite team to go on these operations, these covert ops. They're kind of really the best of the best that have been thrown together, but we could see what happens with the storylines as them all, as they evolve, or maybe if some get captured. There's a whole world we can go into with all the heroes.
Yeah. Next up, we have our French character, Claudine.
We needed a French character.
Of course.
Actually, you know, yeah, exactly. Actually, we'll even have a German hero.
Ooh.
Yeah. So not only, you know, we wanted this to be, well, the Nazi to be the ultimate bad guys, but this we wanted to show a variety of heroes in this game.
Yeah, Claudine's your French resistance fighter. She's more in your kind of almost civilian garb. She doesn't have a uniform per se. Her weapons are things she's really kind of scraped up from other soldiers and she's been able to gather. But what she has been able to do in her spare time is research explosives. To kind of in a kind of basement, she's been able to spend time learning how to deal with pesky panzers and bridges and kind of support in that subterfuge manner. So she, as a mix of kind of ability to stay hidden, to use her silenced sten that she has, and kind of get a jump on people, but then when it comes down to it, she is very, very good at dealing with large threats with TNT and her explosive arsenal.
Yeah, she's very fun to play. I really enjoy playing her.
I love the fact that she actually is resting her boot on the plunger for some explosives.
She's a bit of a show off, you know. Although she's in her kind of civilian garb almost, you know, from her boots and her outfit and her beret, she doesn't mind being a bit more in your face about how when she deals with people.
Yeah, that and the Sten gun, the weapon that she's carrying, is actually incredibly appropriate for her. Yeah, because if I remember my history right, I think they were airdropped into France for the resistance, and the Sten gun itself, interesting little note, was actually made by a toy company who made tin toys.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Wow.
Next. Oh, hello. Brick.
Obviously, Reichbusters is over the top, and no one personifies that better than Brick. Our kind of, I'm going to say Brick Beep House. I'll do it for the editors.
If you're from the UK, you know the saying.
So, you know, he's exaggerated, pumped, almost steroidy looking chest and muscles, and he's holding 2 massive heavy machine guns, which we all knew was absolutely crazy. But we needed someone who was going out when everything hits the fan, the whole thing goes wrong. Who's going to clean up all the mess?
Yeah.
It's Brick. He's got that. No, he's got that. The red beret is one of those things where a lot of people think sort of paratrooper, but it's also a commando thing. The red beret, we saw it in multiple different services. So we decided to go with that look for him because we think it really gave him that bulldog kind of feel. He really personifies this brash. Yes, he does have a grenade right over his
the important component.
Yes, if he's going to go, he's going to go. He's going to go in fashion.
Brick, there's something interesting about him. He will be very good in the second part of the game after the alarm has been
It's gone off. It's good. The whole bunker knows you're
then
there.
in the first part of the mission. The game is really divided into the infiltration phase and the escape phase after the alarm has been there.
The moment where the proverbial has hit the fan.
Yeah, that's it.
And so, depending on the profiles of the heroes, and we'll have many heroes in the game, some are really balanced, some are better in the first phase, some are better in the second phase. He's obviously better in the second phase.
Yeah, you can almost hear the characters' voices as you're seeing them. I imagine him to be very much sort of South London, sort of thuggish.
You want to Vinnie Jones this, do you?
Actually, kind of, yeah. I think stick a Vinnie Jones voice on this guy and just have him screaming, "Right, lads, get the Jerry's," and then just letting rip.
And
perfect.
This all will come down to, as we start, we're going to have 5 allied heroes, but we hope to have many, many more.
Oh, yeah.
When you sit down to play the game, you'll be able to choose from all the different heroes we have, and you'll build a team. And the game is for 1 to 4 players, but it's completely cooperative. So before you go out on a mission, you'll think about what heroes you'll play with, and then we'll kind of show a little bit later about how the loadout and items and stuff work as well, because you need to have... Actually, do you know what? We'll show it a little now.
Oh, yeah, you can do. What
So
you got?
every player will be given a dashboard, and this is a prototype dashboard, where you can pop your hero, but you can also pop a range of other stuff, so you can choose your weapon loadouts. And with
So
this
you
little
can have
prototype,
2 weapons, right?
so initially we've just used these prototype boards just to show you that you can kind of basically push these down and lift these right out. So these are double-sided. These tell you what special abilities they have, like the knife with critical hit or the Thompson with burst fire. We've also got a range of items, again, so you can kind of just push down and pop these right out.
So
Here we
up
have,
to 4 items.
yeah, we have radio, helmets, medikits, Stein grenades. These are things that you could potentially equip beforehand, or the things you could pick up as you play. And then here we've got slots for skills, and these are things that are going to really set the personality and the play style of your character. And again, these are things you kind of chop in and out, either between missions in the R&D phase, or you can customize them really completely to make your hero how you want to play.
And if you play in the campaign mode, your hero can evolve from one scenario to the other.
I see.
If they survive, well, if they are not captured.
Now, is there anything for like persistent injuries that could maybe go into there as like a minus trait, or have you considered doing anything like that?
We got to keep some stuff under wraps because in the game and play when you play yourself, you will have wounds that some will be just grazing and have an instant one-time effect, and other more serious wounds will be persistent on your character for that mission. But the wounds at the moment, what they really kind of lead to is if you get too wounded, there's that chance of being captured and being unavailable for selection in the future campaign missions, and you may even have to be rescued. As to permanent long-term scars or effects, you're going to have to wait and see.
Oh. All right, now, one thing as well. So we have Brick here, but this isn't the actual final scale. This is a little overscaled, isn't it?
You're exactly right. Whenever we first started putting the minis together for Reichbusters, we initially started with our kind of 35mm scale that we did with Solomon Kane. Then we had a bit of feedback. We talked to some community members and the likes of DACA and the likes of Dust Forums, and we talked a lot with guys who are into miniatures gaming as well. And for us, it made sense to go with a 32mm scale. So we've actually gone, the one you're rotating right now is the final scale. So to give you an idea, we've got a Dust mini, and we've also got a Space Marine mini. We kind of put them...
So which would you like to compare them against?
But we do one at a time. Yeah, the smaller one is the unpainted one is going to be the final size.
And Brick is really tall, so you might as well also
Sarge
take
as well.
Sarge.
Would you like me to trade out to Sarge?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, both of them.
I'll do
both of
Brick
them,
first.
Yeah.
And this is Brick versus a Dust miniature, which is pretty damn close, I have to say, just for the skill of the head and the
This
hand.
is also a big Dust mini. This is a big hero. So yes, they are a bit bigger than the other normal sized hero. Sarge is still tall compared to some others, but
we've got a Primaris Marine here as well.
Yeah.
And
you see, this is same scale, would say.
And then you've got, that's Sarge just there. You can see, so he's less. Like, Brick is obviously massive, so that gives you an idea of what Sarge is like.
Yeah, so Sarge is there. and then we compare to the Dust Mini.
Yeah, and again, it's quite a big Dust Mini. It's more like a brick comparison because he's got the heavy muscles, the heavy guns. But it gives you an idea that we want these to be, if you're into that kind of thing, you could absolutely use some of our heroes and some of our minis for the likes of weird war gameplay.
Yeah, but you can see Brick is a big dude.
Oh, he is. Yeah, he's the biggest hero.
Yeah,
that we're currently showing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so that's heroes.
Enough about the goodies, isn't it? Really, I've had it with the goodies, man.
Yeah, I want to hear about the Nazis.
Yeah.
So we have Nazi officers.
Yeah.
So as I mentioned earlier, we had to kind of ground ourselves, but this is the first time we're doing Reichbusters. It's a brand new IP for us, so we wanted to give people something that's straight away instantly recognizable. And what's more recognizable than an over-the-top, monocle-wearing, smug-looking Nazi, Indiana Jones-looking Nazi officer.
Yeah, and you can just see there, he has that captured flawlessly. And I have to say, the paint job on these is gorgeous.
Seb has been amazing. Like we're so happy to have him now as our official studio painter. He's with us full time, which is just an absolute blessing. Like our Instagram and Facebook posts now blow up all the time every time we sneak and get a little look at his painting desk. But yeah, we wanted to really show that this is over the top and it's fun. It's not to be taken too seriously, but you've got that grounding to say these are the base bosses and the soldiers you're going to be up against.
Very, very cool. And then next in line we have, okay, this is a little more over the top.
Yes,
just a smidge over the top.
This is Gisela Gruber, right? She's one of the Vril Meisters. Now, these are the people, these are the Nazis that lead the research into Vril. And what you'll find is each Vril Meister kind of specializes in their own style. Now, because Vril is this energy source, it's this miraculous kind of source of power, but how you use that is very open, also very potentially treacherous, and it could be
dangerous.
Disastrous. Yeah, exactly. And Gisela is very much into trying to use Vril to make mutations, to turn biological flesh into something more villainous, more evil, and that's why we see her with this eye of something. Who knows what it could be?
And one thing I quite like that I hadn't noticed before is the design on the artwork. So you've got her wearing a hood under her hat.
She's got a cowl basically that's kind of gives her a bit of prestige, adds a bit of depth to the mini. It kind of hides her away, so it is actually the Carl you're seeing and not her hair. And she's obviously emblazoned with this icon you're seeing. This
maybe a bit of a cult priest.
Exactly. She's actually got a Vril empowered staff. This is a weapon that she's specifically made for herself to use. Very different from traditional weaponry.
She's one of the two bosses, Nazi bosses, Vril Meisters in the core box, but we'll have some others hopefully.
Yeah, and you see these emblems that you see on her that's holding her cloak on, that's the Vril, and on her hat that's the Vril Meister logo that they've emblazoned for themselves.
I see.
They're separate from what we would consider the traditional Reich. They've kind of gone off on their own, even to the point where initially they started by saying, okay, Vril, we could use this to turn the tide of the war. Now it's gone a bit further. They're starting to realize how powerful Vril is and how many men they've lost to it, and now they're going a bit on their own. The Vril Meisters are also they're almost their own entities in the war as such, and that's why they're so dangerous to the world, not just the war, because if Giselle gains full control over Vril mutation, who knows what she could do with it.
You could have an ever-expanding organic city crawling out of the woodwork.
That's an interesting idea.
Note to self, steal ideas from Justin.
Shall we see what she does, what she gets up to?
Well, first off, you've got your grunts.
So these are your grunts, your Nazi soldiers. Obviously, the MP40. These are pretty recognizable to anybody that's played anything or seen any movies. These should not be shocking.
Yeah, well, the sculpt on them is perfect because you've got all the nice leather harnessing, the classic styles for the weapons, the helmets, and the actual uniform. But the uniform does feel as if it's been changed up just ever so slightly to be a little bit more, I don't know, a little more sinister.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
Very much
I would
so.
like to compare this with the new one that we've done.
Oh, yes, again,
the new ones are a little smaller because of the scale things we mentioned, and they are a little more dynamic. Now they are walking.
Yeah, exactly.
You see, and we've redone also the weapon. It's a bit bigger because we want the plastic mini to be really just as we want to. So we took this into account.
Yeah, well, I love the design so far.
That's worth saying to everyone, of course, that these are a range of 3D prints and initial tests where we've kind of obviously making alterations already, but there will be plastic in the final board game.
Yeah. All right, now let's have a look at
What happens to a Nazi soldier when Giselle has got her hands on it?
Oh, hi there.
So this is one of her success stories. This is experiment 601. You can actually see if you pop the soldier in beside it as well, you really see that what she's basically done is she's taken a per Nazi soldier, and at least this is one of her success stories. This is one that she's turned into a close combat machine. Given up the ranged weapons, given up the ability to hold a gun at all, and replaced hands, extra limbs, and that kind of tail with blades everywhere she can fit them on to make these faster moving, to make these more dangerous. These are the kind of things that you can imagine jumping in, ripping off the top of a Sherman, getting inside a tank and just tearing aside the team.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know, maybe she just wanted a hug that day.
Did you know what? She's got that kind of look at you. She might be into a hug filled with blades and creepy tendrils. But yes,
it's super creepy, and I love the blend we're seeing between the organic and the mechanical here. Seeing one flowing into the other, but it's still got that nice heavy iron feel to it that you would expect from something in this era. Yeah,
it all needs to base it. You always see the little Vril canisters on the back. You'll see where they're trying to push this either into the machinery or into the body and into the cells. And that's always part of it whenever you see these monstrosities.
Yeah. Okay, next up, puppy.
One of the dog, the Nazi dog, is just one of my favorite minis in the entire game. He's just gorgeous, if a little bit terrifying looking. And we show this because, yes, of course, the patrols and the soldiers will need dogs to help sniff out and find the heroes and run them down. So if they're trying to make it to the exit, but you kind of can already assume what's coming next.
Sometimes he can be a real pain in the
ass. Oh, they can.
They are very fast, and and so they will reach you pretty fast.
Gisela got her hands on these two.
Honestly, I want to see these painted up as, I think, the breed Alsatian.
Yeah. German Shepherd Alsatian. They changed the name a little bit back in those days. So yes, it would be gorgeous.
Yeah. And then what's next? Oh, yeah, other puppy.
So this is what happens when you leave your puppy at Gisela Pound. They get turned into Experiment 6XX.
I didn't realize she started a dog grooming business.
Yeah, she kind of groomed all the hair away, though. I don't know whether you would call this one a success, but it's definitely vicious, threatening. It's going to get up in the face of heroes, and it's
it's a dog on steroids, and it actually has more of a Doberman look to it.
Yeah.
But I'm seeing what you're saying about the big canisters of Vril into the back, just being piped in, fed through that circulatory system, and it just messing with them.
Yeah, essentially all the skin has contracted and peeled back as these extra limbs have grown. So there's all the fur's disappeared, the tail's obviously become bare, and all the kind of the snout and everything has been kind of pulled back to become a more brutish, bullish, hellish looking thing. It's the skin peeled back away from the teeth. So you have, no matter what the Experiment 6XX is doing, it always looks like it's smiling at you grimacely. It's just
Yeah. Oh, and I didn't notice. It's actually got two extra little legs pulled up in front of it.
It does. Those are for the hugs it wants to give you.
I don't want hugs from that puppy. That is not a cuddle puppy. Next up, we have Vril Reanimates. Zombies!
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to be surprised at what these are. These are dead soldiers who have been forced unwillingly back to life using these big bolted armor suits. They're not smart, of course, because they've just been forced back to kind of stumble forward and get towards the heroes and become really meat shields almost for the larger troops. And again, we had a lot of fun thinking about how these would look and feel, especially when thinking about, we want to make them tough and resilient, but not in the kind of traditional zombie way, which is only shoot them in the Brian. We wanted to make it more themed for the period, which means get some heavy armor on there, get the Vril.
So they're hard to destroy. They're pretty resilient.
I love the idea that the actual Vril canister on this one, you've actually designed it so there's armored plate around it, so that your heroes can't just go, oh, that's animated by Vril. Let's just shoot the Vril canister. You know, it looks as if a bit of engineering thought went into it from the Vril master that made them.
They needed to make use of what they had, and what they had was a bunch of dead soldiers, and they needed some way to make them last a bit longer this time around.
Of course.
Their purpose is really to swarm the enemy, so they try to get as close to you and then slow you down. So and they're hard to get. So they don't need weapons. They don't use ranged weapons. but they claw and they bite or.
This is actually the perfect moment to perhaps show off the enemy stat cards.
Oh yeah,
because you're saying they're tough.
Oh,
I would like you to explain to me just how this operates.
That's a great point. So at the moment, again, these are very much just for our play testing and initial demos of the show. This is the zombie artwork. And then we have a few key stats for their range, which in this case would be a 0 stat because they don't have a ranged weapon. They're 6 strength melee, and then they're 7 toughness. And comparing that with something like a Nazi soldier, who has a 4 in range, 4 in melee, and 4 toughness, they're considerably harder hitting in melee, more resilient to attack. And then they have different initiatives. So the Nazi soldier would act much quicker than a Nazi zombie would much later in the turn. And they also each will come with their own special rules that dictate how they activate. The most important one in this case would be these guys love defending guard points and protecting key locations, and they'll listen to people like Giselle Gruber, who will give bonuses to Nazi soldiers. For example, in her case, she'll give extra defense whenever she's supporting them in the back line. It's worth saying it as well. The Vril Meisters come with these double-sided cards, so they have multiple wounds they can take, and we can see their special rules and different things changing as you wound them. And again, these are only at the moment kind of prototypes for ourselves, but we have a full range for every single type of unit in the game. We want the game to feel, every time you go into it, when you're fighting against these different types of things, a little bit different. You have to react depending on what you come up against, whether it's a 601, whether it's some scientists, whether it's an officer. You're going to have to tailor your playstyle and not just treat everything in the game as just a common unit. They will act differently in the full game, and we're prototyping and playtesting, experimenting with a lot of different things while still trying to keep the whole game flowing nicely.
Very cool. Honestly, I have to say one thing, Leo. I want this artwork for each of these cards in like an A3 poster at some point. I've just got to say it.
We're very proud of the art we have for this game. I think because it was not easy to decide how we wanted to represent this. It mustn't be goofy or cartoony. It mustn't be too serious either. It has to be in the middle and convincing. I think we managed.
You nailed it. Every time you guys do something, you nail it. Next up, bases.
Yeah, so this was just, we wanted to have a little call out. With Joan of Arc, obviously, we're on a much smaller scale, and we had multiple units on a single base. With Solomon Kane, we wanted to try something new and really, really interesting because there were so many characters in those short stories. Every single mini in Solomon Kane had its own unique base, really dynamic in 3D, to set it in the world of Africa or France or England or Germany or America, depending. So even if you weren't into painting your minis on the tabletop, you'd know straight away where they're from. With this, because you're going to have a lot of soldiers, you're going to have a lot of interesting mutations and different units, and you're going to be spending a lot of time in castles and bunkers and research labs. We wanted to do something just very clean, very simple, but that would lift the mini again and not give it something just too plain.
I know painters will like that.
Yes.
Well, it's one less step, and for those out there who are just board gamers, it just has that extra little flavor to it, and that's something that's great.
And one noticeable thing to say is for the big bases, the texture will be even bigger because we have to assemble this separately. These are coming with the small ones are coming with the minis, so we can't do more than this. I think this is still good, but for the big ones we can have like even more texture, more variety.
Awesome, very awesome. Anything else here, Az, or moving?
No, that's the main thing. To be honest, keep up with the campaign is the main thing. Oh, easy, Tiger. Keep up with the campaign because we'll be showing more and more of this throughout the 10 days, even though it's just a 10-day campaign.
All right, so our next one is General Wolf.
This is our next kind of starter core box Vril Meister. You can see a very different look to Gruber. He's far more into being lazy and fat and overweight, and he's built himself a mechanized walking, crawling chair so he doesn't have to go around, and it's got weapons. He's got his own big fist of flame death. He's essentially just the worst of the worst type of Nazi. There he is. Look at him.
He's got that classic mastermind villain look, though.
Doesn't he?
He doesn't need to be big and strong. He can make something for that if he wants.
He can't fit a cat in that wheelchair thing, though. He can't in that mechanized throne he's made himself. Like, he's not going to get a cat in his lap. We could maybe make him a little Nazi cat to stroke and say, "Hello, Mr. Brick."
I don't want a Nazi cat. I do not want Nazi cat. Do you want a Nazi cat out there, everybody?
We'll see. You never know. If the community speaks, we listen.
Yeah. That's another great thing about you guys.
Could there be a cat in this game?
There is currently a cat in the game. Actually, there is. You have to find
it. Is it a Nazi cat?
There is a cat in the game at the moment, but it's not a mini. It's an element of gameplay that can come up and really ruin your day. It was something that we did during playtesting and initial prototyping, and we decided, we quite like leaving this in, and it has managed to survive several rule iterations somehow. So General Wolf is not going down the route of biological Vril mutation. He's going down the route of how can I make mechanized machinery and weapons with Vril. We've got some examples.
Oh,
So the two Vril Meisters, you have one who's more into biology
yeah.
and the other one more into mechanical. Yeah.
I'm seeing a Sturm Gunner. And is it just me, or has he went, the MG42 is good, but 3 MG42s together is better?
Yeah, what would it be like if we used Vril energy to propel, to fire those shells, projectiles out of this at a pace that you just cannot see of, so they leave this red tracer behind them. It almost looks like a beam weapon as these things just come spewing out of it. He is your heavy gunner, your one-man military.
Yeah, he's just standing at the end of a corridor going, "You shall not pass."
That is it. And the idea is that the General Wolf has been working on this kind of Sturm armor, and by building it in such a way and by getting it, he can use it not just to equip them with one weapon, but he can have many different variations of this. So we have another Sturm, but this time taking it a stage further, going heavier and giving him a riot shield and hammer.
One is ranged and one is close combat.
Yeah, but has he got a gun shield here?
He does indeed. This guy is going to get up in your grill. He's going to be knocking you around, knocking you backwards. He's going to be pushing you away from those objectives. He's going to be right up going, head to toe with all the head to head with Brick and the biggest allied heroes easily. You just had a nice little
Yeah. And this is actually something that came up whenever we were asking. One of my friends on Facebook saw a picture of this that I shared, and it was just like, the detail on the shield, is that something Seb painted, or is that actually in the miniature? I can now confirm it's in the miniature.
Seb, unfortunately, we don't have the painted the Sturmhammer unit with us here, but Seb, if you check out the Mythic Games Facebook or Instagram, you'll see he's done an amazing job.
Definitely a good one for keeping up to date with it. All right. I love him. I want more of it. Oh, hello. Aren't you cute? Tracking bomber. Oh, less cute.
Less cute. These are basically, they're really what their name entails. They've been built with the sole purpose of tracking down intruders, tracking down enemies. Even if these make it to the front line, these would be absolutely decimating, making it into trenches, making it to the backs of, or the underbelly of tanks. If these things get out of the Vril research labs, they would just be decimating. And all their intent is to get to the enemy and detonate their explosive Vril package inside. They are fast, they are agile, and they are explosive. They are deadly. And this is another one of Wolf's kind of ideas where he thinks he could turn the tide of the war with these.
Yeah.
Well, you can also use this at your advantage. If you shoot them from a distance, they can blow, and then they will explode in a room and destroy everything that's in it.
Yeah, so at the moment, we're playtesting a few different things, and one of the abilities that Red Hawk has, your favorite Russian sniper, is the ability to be accurate with her sniper rifle, so she can pick units out of a bunch. Even if that tracking bomber is surrounded by meat shield-like reanimates, she can take out the enemy and potentially detonate it early. And this is something that we're, with the initial gameplay that we've been doing at Essen and the French conventions, and the initial videos that we're going to be doing, we're going to be really open to feedback and thoughts, because we know we've got some more chance to tweak and refine it.
Absolutely, yeah. Right now, you don't want them to be in your area, because then they detonate and it's really bad.
Really
Although
bad.
you do realize the Germans actually had something like this during the war.
Did they?
Yes, it was called the Goliath. It was a small remote-controlled tracked vehicle, which they would actually use to drive under Allied vehicles and go.
Oh, really?
Next up. Oh, hello.
Yeah. The Vril Panzer, he's a knight, he's a tank, he's a walking mech. Look, let's not lie. We all know exactly what he is. He's a heavy-hitting beast of a truck.
Yeah, I assume the moment you see him in-game, it's just like, oh, well, we're going to have to think of something else here.
And you can...
Yeah.
comparison you can show.
All right, well,
next.
Just look at him. He is huge. So there is your standard German officer.
Yeah.
There is an Allied hero beside him, and he's just gigantic. He is the ultimate heavy weapon.
This is when you're going to need Claudine's explosives. This is when your Thompson and your pistols and your knives are going to do nothing. Maybe you try and outrun, maybe try and outmaneuver, maybe try and trap him with his own tracking bombers.
Maybe suppressing fire.
Yeah, maybe you lock him in place just by kind of forcing it to take cover. You're going to have to treat the Vril Panzer very differently to any of your normal foes. And this is really just the beginning of what Wolf has in plan.
It's in the core box.
Yeah, this is a core box. So the core box is going to be around $100. Obviously, we're launching the 20th of November, so he is part of that core package straight away. And we wanted something that was really iconic, something that was going to be not inhuman, because obviously he tells a poor little guy inside that.
Poor little guy. That Nazi soldier is going.
He got the good straw.
I don't have to look. I can stomp.
Yeah, because Wolf and Gisela, they're fine, but you need something epic to really fight against now and again. And this is just the beginning of where we're going.
But it's you kind of get the feeling, I'm not even going to guess at the storyline, but you can imagine it's the final mission. You've rocked into a room and it's just like, the Nazis are building a super weapon. What is it? Oh, crap.
The Vril Panzer is a super weapon, but definitely not our most super weapon.
Hello.
Oh.
Reeker.
So
Gisela's been playing again.
Well, this is it. You've nailed it. This is it. This is mutation almost meeting the technology at the same time. You're seeing huge weapons powered by Vril with these big scythe blade hands and the huge armored front, but you're obviously seeing the overblown body, the mutated pus, this big jaw that's just elongated and brought out. And yeah, you can even compare him to the Vril Panzer actually to see just how monstrous.
Actually, give me the Vril Panzer, because this guy actually looks bigger.
Oh well, yeah.
He's
yeah, you're right. He's bigger.
Bigger.
He is girthier for sure.
You can imagine this guy just uppercutting someone onto one of those big nasty hooks.
Uppercutting someone in half. He is all about charging in, just eliminating everything. Yeah, that's it. The perfect word.
He's not in the core box. He is in the expansion.
I see. And I assume, what way are you doing this? Are you doing many levels to the Kickstarter, or is it like base pledge all in and done? Are you working on that?
So you could buy it separately, and there will be an all-in. So day one, you will know everything. You will have the expansion, the core box, the expansions. Well, there's actually, we can say it now, there's actually just one game expansion, and then there's another expansion for two small expansions that can add something to the game. Well,
I see.
You're
keeping it stum?
There's one thing I don't want to say everything about it, but what I can tell is the all-in will be $200.
Okay.
And
really?
there will be
that's all?
That's it. $200.
So that'll essentially get you the core game. It'll get you the expansion, which contains the Shrieker. It'll also get you some 3D elements to lift up your doors. So we have, because doors are a really important part of the game. You're constantly trying to make your way through these corridors and bunkers. So we have 3D elements.
And they're very nice, very nice. And then you have another small expansion, exclusive. Well, not small, but you have one thing. You have this.
Yeah, we'll get
X. Well,
so essentially, the core pledge is only going to be $100, and then we're going to be doing a thing specifically for the Kickstarter. So it's a little added extra to anyone that backs us and supports the Kickstarter. So it's $200 for the all-in during the Kickstarter. So
only during the Kickstarter. That means if you do not take the all-in during the Kickstarter, you can still get the all-in. It will just be a little more expensive, but like we do a discount of $10, I think, for
just to give a little thank you to the people that kind of help us make it happen. You know,
right? We have my favorite character. This is Hugo Handa.
This is still, I just want to say, very much a prototype render. This is a guy that we've just kind of started finishing off recently. I love this name so much, it's untrue. We had a lot of feedback when we shared him with the community. One person in particular was like, who designed his coat? Because as we all know, Hugo Boss is well known for designing a lot of the Nazi uniforms. So we thought, you know what, we've got to pay homage a little bit to that. So we called him Hugo. I'm not going to tell you why we called him Hander.
Well, it's pretty obvious.
He is and I also like the fact that he's got a bit of a face, a little bit like Hugo Weaving in Captain America, a little bit of a red skull about him. So again, This is just embracing one of these characters who's really going to start separating the reality into the weird. And that's where we go with the expansion from the core box. If you want to keep it a little bit more traditional, the core box has a good blend of real and traditional. If you want to start going a little bit more extreme...
I don't know, I like the extreme idea in this.
Me too.
That's what's drawing me in. And then next... Okay, you said strange, you didn't say... What the hell? What is this?
We've only shown you 2 Vrilmeisters.
Yes.
But that's not all the Vrilmeisters that we've designed.
Oh.
We've shown you mechanized Vrilmeisters, we've shown you mutated Vrilmeisters, but there's also Vrilmeisters who are trying to use the Vril energy to open gateways, to really expand their minds, to really look at forces that could use Vril outside of what we know on Earth.
Oh.
Yes,
Yay.
because Vril is not from this Earth. It's not from this planet. It comes from elsewhere, and in these places, some creatures can use it naturally. And this is what the Nazis are trying to discover. And if they could master Vril as these alien things can, then it would be perfect.
They wouldn't require to just inject Vril into machinery of their bodies. They could actually
they wouldn't have these failed
the
experiments, all these things, because it's dangerous and it's unstable, and these alien things seem to master it naturally.
And these are part of the acolytes that essentially form this cult almost of this going far beyond what really any seeing human should be okay with.
So this Vrilmeister is a kind of hybrid with these alien races, and then you have the acolytes. Acolytes.
Very cool. And what is this? Why does that look like a big Vril-powered cattle prod?
It's a very good approximation, buddy.
That's exactly what it is.
Exactly what it is.
Oh, okay.
So whenever the Nazis discovered the actual origins of Vril energy, they lost a lot of guys. They had a lot of people go missing, a lot of soldiers get torn up, and they needed a way to try and control these alien monstrosities that were trying to come through and overpower the Vrilmeisters. So they had to develop a way to try and handle, control, maintain, get the alien Vril empowered beasts to do what they want them to do.
Gotcha.
So only so long as they can keep them in line have they any chance at all of the aliens actually not just ripping apart both
Everything?
Allies and Nazis and the entire Reich from the inside out.
I love the design of this. It looks like just tons of heavy duty, like leather or some other kind of like non-flammable material that's just protecting this guy, even to the big flowing face mask. It's gorgeous.
He needs all that. Yeah, he needs all that protection because it's such an eminent of Vril that he has to pump out. He also needs all that the Vril energy with the pipes and the canisters to be able to keep doing what he's doing. And I love, to be honest, this mini blows me away as well. The stance of this, where you can see he's pushing forward. It's an animated one where he's saying, "Get out, you'll get in there and do
it back, monster."
That's it. I can't wait to see what people do with this mini, especially painters. This will be so much fun.
Then we have
this is actually my favorite mini. This you can't see the scale here, but he's much more like a tracking bomber, kind of like knee high. This is in French. This is le petit predator. Do not let it fool you. Like seriously, these are your swarm all over you. Like get all up in your grill, outnumber you before you know what's happened. Little alien babies, but they're so cute.
Are they fast?
They're all about getting right into the heroes before they can do anything, and again protecting their big counterparts that we're going to see later. For me, I'm really pushing. I want the community to get behind plushie, little petite predator plushie. I want a little petite predator plushie, man. It would be so good.
You can do that. Very cool. Very cool.
So,
and I love the detail you've done in the design with all the little veins, the eyeballs. It looks really alien.
And these are the things that are using. Here we go. The Vril naturally. This is the thing that comes from their planet. It comes from their source. They are just one with this energy source.
Oh my.
So now you can see
God, because I don't think I can believe in God after seeing something like that. In this
so you
world.
can see the Vril Meister. You know, this how he fused. Well,
Yeah,
you can see the.
I'm seeing where it came from. It's like he slid up in the front of this and just leaned back into it and went, "This is my head now."
But it's interesting to me because the Allies are going after the Nazis and after this research to stop it. But there's also this almost third, the alien origin, that if you do go into the expansion and you're more into the more alien stuff, you almost have a third party where you have the aliens potentially turning on the Nazis, let alone turning on the heroes. So it adds a whole extra level to the world and to the gameplay.
Very awesome. Very, very awesome. And again, the texturing you're doing on your detailing is superb. Your sculptors, every time I see their work, they get better and better and better.
We want our plastic minis to be the same high detail as you'd expect from any resin company, any Games Workshop, Privateer Press. We're really pushing hard with the technology like the ZBrush technology and taking all the time to do 3D prints, to alter small poses, to do resin masters. We really take the time.
The thing, because we have printers in our studios,
Yes.
we really print it and make the changes until it looks good, until we know the plastic will be very good. So we work. We're not sending things to the factory.
Yeah.
Without knowing exactly
you
what
have
will
a
be.
physical prototype in your hand.
Always, at all time. Every day we print things. Every day we change things. Every day we refine it till it's perfect.
See, I would love to just see like a shelf and just a nice long shot of just the evolution of the miniature from
you
guys.
could
I
see
think
that,
that'd be
yes.
gorgeous.
Erwan in our Paris office will show you more than a shelf. He's got corridors of 3D prints and minis as he's made amendments. And that's a big part of what we do, and a big part of the Kickstarter and the relationship with the community and the fact that they're helping make this game happen for us. That's still the key. This product needs support to actually get made.
Yeah, awesome. What is that? Okay.
So look, we show you guys a lot of
That
stuff.
is Project X.
Well, this is where mech meets alien meets mutant meets beast meets monstrosity is big.
I will be taking you to ask you some very important questions.
So the idea is that after all this, we have to hold ourselves back. Project X will be this extra little add-on that if you want to get involved with, you can. So you'll have the core box, you'll have the alien, not of this Earth expansion, you'll also have the 3D elements for the doors, and then you'll also, if you want to, delve into Project X, which is going to give you an extra little mission that you can either play as a standalone, or you can actually insert it into our campaign as well, and into the full flow of the story. And it's going to be... You're going to have to come to the Kickstarter on the 20th and see the Kickstarter to see this thing in action, because it's...
What you mentioned is important. The two ways you can play the game. The normal way to play the game is actually the raid mode. So that means you will define what is your mission. You will compose your own team of heroes. You will define what is your mission, what are your objectives, what are your maps, what are the Nazi factions you're going to face in this scenario. So it makes plenty of combos. You'll have plenty of combos, and you can just define your one night mission for with your friends, you know. And if you have this expansion, it will add to this, because you will have another enemy that you could face for your mission. And then you have the campaign game, which is a narrative story, which will start from the beginning. You will, if your hero don't make it and are captured, you won't have them for the next scenario, and then progressively you will see and understand more and more of the background.
Discover the world the same way the Reichbusters do, basically. Going from that first mission, learning and more.
Yes.
And if you complete your main objective, it'll have an outcome. If you manage to complete other side objectives and gain more intel or Kikos, that'll have an impact. So you can change your loadout. And before every single campaign mission, you'll sit down in that R&D phase that we talked about earlier, where you'll choose your team, you choose your loadout, your items, you'll choose your abilities, or gain them or lose them, depending on what you've done. But that campaign is something that we'll design custom for you, so it's ready to play start to end. But the main way that you'll play it is the same way you play any other game, which is just put it on the table, pick a map, pick a Vril Meister to go up against, and their special, balanced range of Vril empowered beasts. Pick your team. Off you go. So your objective, your team is all customizable by you, or randomized if you wanted to.
Yeah, you could say, okay, let's just completely do this randomly. depending on the expansions you have, you add the cards, you have different decks, you just pick your deck, and then you have your mission and you do it for tonight. Or you could say, I really want to play with Project X, or I really want to play with the Shrieker, so you choose.
I owe Giselle a punch in the kisser for that last time
you
we
could
lost
choose
her.
the Nazi faction you want to play with instead of determining it randomly. And if you want to play the campaign, an important thing also is you don't have to buy the expansions. If you do buy the expansions, the extra scenarios, the extra missions will be inserted before the last scenario. So these are optional episodes that you can play if you want to do the campaign, that will be inserted before the finale. You see?
Fabulous. I cannot wait to see how this goes, guys. Is that everything we wanted to cover, or is there anything you missed? You've put a lot of information out there for
that's
everybody.
the key. Yeah, the key thing with Reichbusters is it's only a 10-day campaign.
Yeah.
So 20th of November to the end of November. That's all we're running.
Don't
it for.
miss it.
Yeah, please, if you want to come and check out the Kickstarter page, we will have the rulebook will be on there. We'll have gameplay videos on there. We'll have full breakdown of how everything works. So we want to have feedback from the community. We're still going to continue to develop this over the next few months, and we are planning to deliver November next year. So it's not going to be a long wait.
So it's a smaller campaign, but that doesn't mean nothing will happen. We will have the stretch goals, and every time the new stretch goals will bring something. It could be either a new Reichbuster, or it could be some new enemies or some new elements in the game, that will add to something. So this will tell a story. And of course, we will do some special, as we like to do, some special things with you guys. We will have some lives. We will do some demos. We will have questions and answers, and we will show you stuff. We want these 10 days to be very exciting. It will be short, but it will be very, very exciting.
There's a lot of allied heroes, a lot of Reichbusters, a lot of counterparts, a lot of enemies that are still hopefully going to be added. So we need people supporting the campaign to get all those in.
All right, well, everybody, I tell you what, get your comments in below. Tell us, what do you think of the idea of Reichbusters? I am excited for it. I cannot wait to get sat down and play this with Az, Leo, and Warren. We will move on here, and we will see you again very soon.
My name's Gareth from Paranoid Miniatures, and you're watching The Weekender on beastsofwar.com.
Reichbusters is a game I am really excited to see more of. Unfortunately, I was actually out of the studio when Mythic
I
came
wasn't.
over. I didn't get to see the game played.
I didn't get to see the game played. I heard it as they were playing through it, and I think there will be a Let's Play coming.
Oh, definitely.
For that, but I got to see the lovely studio paint job miniatures, and also a little sneak peek of some of the animations for the Kickstarter. But it all looks fantastic.
I love a bit of Weird World War, and this one seems to be really going for it, really trying to make it as much pulpy fun as possible.
If anybody enjoyed a little studio Marvel, I think they're called, they had a Captain America film.
Oh yeah, I think I might have heard of that one.
Right?
Yeah.
There's a bit in it where you get a little montage of Cap and the Howling Commandos going and doing various things. And this gives me that feel, because it is a disparate group. It's not just British or American. It's random fighters from each of the allied factions who all have their own little unique feel to them, just like the Howling Commandos do, and going in and knocking Nazi scientists on their backside as they try and work their weird steampunky ways.
I've got to admit, I was very relieved to see that they were including all the different allied groups in the player characters, because you get so tired of what was that movie, U-571?
Could be
the one where
the Americans capture Enigma.
Yeah, that was the one. Yeah. Yeah,
as opposed to the Polish.
Indeed. So, but yeah, having that sort of diverse group, I really like to see that, and it creates more room for really over the top fun characters.
Oh yeah, it's a good time in the can. Is just all the pulp all the time, which is what you want to see.
Definitely, especially for a game like this.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of Kickstarters, we've got a few interesting ones that have caught our eye this week. Starting off with one that I think you've been working on some prototypes of.
Yes.
Let's see what you've got here.
So this is from Crowdforge Studios. And this is his Metromorph set, it's called. So it's these are prototypes, so there are going to be some differences between what we have in front of us and the final product.
Let's just get a closer look at. Oh wow!
But essentially, what it is, it sort of very nice. Harkens back to the sort of 90s GW cardboard buildings, and that's exactly the sort of thing he wants. A very quick way to put a lot of scenery on the table that can be built up and then broken down again, without taking half your game time to actually get the table put together, which is always good, I feel. And these, even though they're prototypes, the print quality and the detail on the actual boards themselves is absolutely fantastic. They're all double-sided, and it's different on both sides, so you're not getting a lot of repeating patterns whenever you're building. And they come with a set of little sort of either T-shape, cross-shape, or L-shape fasteners, little black doohickeys. So the idea is the core set, I think, looks like you can kind of make about 5 buildings or more or less, depending on how mad you go with it, because it is infinitely modular for a given value of infinite. But what I really like is some of the touches he's done. So we've got 2 buildings here. Yeah. You can see the black clips very noticeably on this one. But as part of the Kickstarter, as part of the actual set, these ones are masked because you get little stickers with them.
Oh, so that's nice.
You can actually mask off, if you want, all of the clip sections. So while we actually have a set here, and even on the front, if you show the front off here, there's a clip right slap bang in the middle, which has got another little sticker, and all of the stickers have, there's a series of repeating designs, but they're specifically made for floor or wall or the internal corridor, so you can hide all of those clips if you want. If you're like me and you're a bit lazy, you might not want to, because if you are going to do it, put them on first.
Yeah,
because they're very fiddly to stick on whenever you've actually put the buildings together. But yeah, the set itself, the set that we got in the studio here to play with, you can easily make enough to fill a 4x4, and because of the way it's designed, it's great for any of the sort of the GW games. So Kill Team, Necromunda, 40k, they're all great. It will work for all of those. Equally, it will work for sort of industrial sci-fi, so possibly your Fallout games, that sort of thing. A lot of it has worked on a 3-inch square as your base. So you've either got 3-inch or maybe a 6-inch by 3-inch, which means Dead Zone. Warpath, the Mythic Games, it's ideal for that as well. Good, yeah. Infinity, if you kind of like a grimy, down and dirty kind of look, or Osprey's Rogue Star. So as a generic set of sci-fi industrial buildings, I think it's spot on. It does exactly what you want it to do, and build and breakdown time is so quick because it is just sets of clips, so you're not having to worry about too much fiddling, and it's solid enough when it goes up there. Well, as long as you put bits at every corner type of thing, you know, you're not going to have any problem with it collapsing onto you.
You said it's not too fiddly. I remember walking past seeing you with the stickers.
Yeah. Sticking the stickers on afterwards is fiddly, but if I stickered all of the additional pieces first and then built it, you can build it in the space of a minute.
Now, I absolutely love the look of this. As you said, the print quality is top notch. If I bring that again, but the thing that actually stands out to me is the stickers, because I had some old clip together terrain a while back. I think it was the Terraclips range for Malifaux, and I can't remember if it's printed anymore. And it was very good. It did let me put together an attractive looking board very quickly. Well, relatively quickly, because I roped a friend in to help me build it. But sorry?
Cheating?
Yeah, exactly. That's what friends are for.
I had to build it myself.
But the problem with it was that there were all these shiny clips everywhere. The addition of the stickers does help blend it all in a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, those little touches are just awesome. Because I don't mind the black, to be brutally honest.
Yeah.
I would have absolutely no problem with sticking that together because it's functional. It does what I wanted to do. But the fact that you can mask those clips off just by spending, you just sit with a tray in your lap in front of the TV and just stick it away during a program, and then you're good to go and start all your building afterwards. You're fine.
Perfect.
It's all good.
So do you know when this will be heading up for Kickstarter?
So He announced this week that it goes for Kickstarter on the 20th, so Tuesday. Now,
Perfect.
he is in Australia, so that Tuesday may be Wednesday, or it might be Monday, because I don't know what time he's putting it up at.
Timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly.
Yeah. So at some point over the next days, with 20 in the middle, it will either be just before or just after, or maybe he'll stay up really late and do it at European Central Standard Time, just to really confuse everybody down with him in the Antipodes.
Well, where can people go in the meantime to find out more?
So they can go to CrowdForge Studio. They have a face page at the moment where he's been showing off some bits and bobs that he's done. And there is a website as well, although it's more sort of a holding at the moment until Kickstarter launches. But it does show some of the bits and pieces you can do with this system where they've gone absolutely boogaloo.
Oh, wow.
And this tower is, I'm going to go out on a limb and say probably about 2 foot tall, with balconies, and looks like something out of Mega City 1.
Yes.
It's perfect for a bit of Judge Dredd or Strontium Dog.
I recognise the model that's on top of that.
What is it?
That's the Immortan Trump from Hassle-Free Miniatures.
Oh, wait, what?
It's Immortan Joe from Fury Road, blended with everybody's favourite president currently, the Donald.
You're kidding me. That Immortan
Trump is a legend, the man, the legend. Anyway, yeah. So it goes to show just how not only modular that is, but
how sturdy
it is, and how nuts you can go if you want to go nuts. So yeah, he's aiming for sort of a Lego quality of being able to assemble it in multiple ways.
Yeah.
And I think he's got something that should tick an awful lot of boxes for a lot of people.
Superb. Can you imagine that, having a tower like that as the centerpiece of the gaming table?
Yeah, I can very much. Things like the spires from Necro, who used to be the people who sat on top of the world, and then would occasionally, they'd have all the credits. So they'd watch the little gang scuttling around at the bottom, and then go, "I'm just going to go and kill them all now," because that amuses me with my fancy outfit. So yeah, having a big spire in the center and occasionally dropping something onto people below you, it's always good, clean family fun.
Sounds, especially if you can then send someone up the spire to knock them off.
Yeah, good luck with that. Let me know how that works out for you, Sam.
Okay, so moving on from that, what else is happening in the world of Kickstarter, Ben?
So the next one we're going to be looking at is from the guys at Triton Noir, who have been taking Assassin's Creed Brotherhood of Venice to Kickstarter. Now, this is a 1 to 4 player game, which is cooperative, where you play as members of the Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, and it's set between two of the best games. So it's set between Brotherhood and Revelations during the Ezio Auditore phase of the gaming, which is just far better than all this Odyssey stuff that's happening right now. Poo.
One second, Ben. 1 second. I think you'll find the best Assassin's Creed is definitely 4 Black Flag, because it had pirates.
Black Flag is good. Black Flag is good, but Ezio Auditore is still the best assassin. Better than Edward Kenway by a long way. But anyway.
I'll let it slide.
You'll let it slide. This is a slide like an assassin's blade. Anyway, so this is a game where you're going to be playing, as I say, as a gang of assassins who are going to be heading out to try and sort of solve all the different sort of threats that the Templars are putting forth against you in Venice during this period. Before each mission, which is called a memory, you're going to be able to equip and change up your assassins with a whole bunch of different gear, and then you're going to be taking out onto a set of like 2D sort of tiles and playing out adventures where you're going to be trying to either assassinate people, steal certain information, and that kind of thing, while also avoiding the guards. One of the big things about this that I saw when I was looking through the Kickstarter is that they've really tried to sort of hone in on what makes Assassin's Creed great. So you've got this really nice stealth aspect to everything, where you're sort of sneaking around in the shadows and trying to take out guards from cover, and using your equipment that becomes very prevalent in these games in the video game series to try and get to your sort of targets and take them out in time. The really interesting thing about this is that I love the idea that it's entirely cooperative against the game and the Templars, which I thought was really good. It comes with a whole bunch of interesting looking miniatures for all the different characters, as well as all the different guards. And as part of some of the stretch goals too, they've unlocked some really interesting new characters. Like you've got Leonardo da Vinci in there, you've got his tank that he designed back in the day, and also a whole bunch of new sort of NPCs and enemies, as well as additional characters like Ezio himself to sort of throw into the mix as well, which I thought was really cool.
The naval cannon on what appears to be a gondola catamaran is particularly mental.
I love it.
The Da Vinci's tank, it's got to be worth it for that by itself.
Let's do that again.
You know how difficult it is to find Da Vinci tank in 28mm? It's very difficult. And I know, because I've tried.
What did you want to use Da Vinci's tank for?
Kings of War, Kingdom of Men. They can have an iron based. So, sorry, League of Brodria. But yeah, yes. I want an armor tank. I want one.
Yeah, actually, even just outside of the Assassin's Creed, getting that tank on the tabletop, that would be amazing. I absolutely love the idea of that in a Kings of War army. A lot of the miniatures might be fun to stick in and include in a game of Carnivale, but we actually got to see some of this game at Essen Spiel this year. I know it's one that Justin and Coco are really excited for. And getting to see more of it here, I can definitely see why. This is one I am going to be keeping a close eye on, I think.
Just sort of as an additional thing with this Kickstarter, they're still going through a lot of the playtesting stage at the moment, so you'll start to see them developing a lot more of that as the campaign rolls on. It's still got about 19 days left from the time of this the show going out. Also, to bear in mind is that the actual Kickstarter delivery date for this is 2020. So bear in mind that it's actually quite a very long-term project, and sort of keep that in mind when you're looking at sort of pledging for this one as well. But just do your sort of research on this one and sort of keep an eye on what's happening with the comments and all the people that are feeding back into it, not only on Triton Noir's side, but also the community side as well, and keep your eye on this one. Because it does look like a lot of fun, and as you say, when we saw this at Essen, everyone was really enjoying it as well. So hopefully it continues to keep that Assassin's Creed spirit going in the game. So.
Yeah, excellent. I'm sure lots of people will be climbing up towers and jumping into small hay bales.
Yeah, hide in a hay cart for the entire game. You're not going to do anything? No, I'm staying in this hay cart. No, I'm safe here. Can't hurt me.
Yeah, it's comfortable and safe in this hay cart.
It's not a bad thing, though, that it is a 2020 release.
Yeah, why is that?
With the amount they've got already unlocked there, and the amount there's still 3 weeks almost to go on that. Yeah. If they're trying to push that out next year, that's when you run into problems. Either you get the game and the miniatures suck because they haven't been able to properly tool them and they've been pushing it, or you get the game and they've had to cut back on the playtest time and on the actual having the longer development time is what Kickstarter's for.
Yeah.
And if you're going to back something like that, you want everything when it lands to actually be playable. You don't want to sit there and go, oh, well, I'm going to have to replace half the miniatures, or I'm going to have to spend so much time working on this, or I'm going to have to take the game and rewrite it from the ground up myself for me and my friends because it just doesn't work. So take your time, do it right, do it properly the first time out of the trap. So
yeah, it's a promising move for them. If you like the look of that, be sure to leave us a comment below and let us know which Assassin's Creed is best. And if 4 is not your answer, you're wrong.
It's Fantasy World Dizzy is the best Assassin's Creed.
Definitely that one. Okay, moving on. We have the Kickstarter for Monumental by Funforge. Ben?
So this is from the guys at Funforge. It's a big civilization building game. It's for 4 players, and it sort of falls itself into the 4X genre.
Wait, Ben. I just spotted Albert Einstein sitting among the Egyptian monsters.
Yes.
It's just below King Arthur. It's good. It's fine. We're all fine.
So he is.
So this is a game that sort of takes a little bit of liberty with the sort of history of the world and does it in an interesting way. You're going to be playing as either you can either play this solo, which is really good fun to see, or you can play with up to 4 players, and you'll be taking control of one of these different civilizations and going through not only the classical age, which you can see represented in a lot of the miniatures here, but through the medieval period and then into the modern industrial age as well. So it's a little bit of a civilization style game. It's got a lot of that sort of through the ages vibe going on to it, but one of the big things about this game is that you also not only have to focus on the idea of developing sort of armies to fight on the tabletop, but in true 4X style, you'll also be developing your scientific research as you go through, coming in with new advances that will help not only your warfare, but also the development of your civilization as a whole, as well as looking into sort of things like cultural policies and stuff like that. a lot of the big sort of pillars that you see in a lot of big 4X games that exist at the moment. The interesting thing about this one as well is that the game can either be bought as either the standard version, which comes with a whole bunch of sort of nice chits, sort of like cardboard chits for units and the like, or you can go sort of deluxe and add those big plastic miniatures into the mix as well if you want to go and check those out. Some of the ones on the Kickstarter have been painted by Angel Heraldez. Angel Heraldez.
Well done, Ben.
As well. So go make sure to go and check that out as well. The interesting thing about this that I thought was really good is that the game feels very, very modular. So as well as the board being different every time you set it up, one of the big things about the game is that you get a deck of cards for each of your different civilizations. And when you choose the cards to play, it will be decided by the sort of shuffling of your deck, and sort of every time you draw them, it'll be something new that you have to try and puzzle out. So even though you might be playing, might be a player that really enjoys the warfare side of things in a 4X game, maybe you draw cards that really focus you towards playing it in a sort of like more cultural and scientific way as well. They've also got a mechanic in the game called cross-tapping, where you've got sort of like a tableau of cards before you, and you can only activate certain cards both by activating a row and a column. So you won't always be able to choose the same thing over and over and over again, because you're going to have to be trying to sort of focus in on sort of in what particularly works in a tactical sense at that very moment as you sort of set out your cards and stuff on the tabletop, as well as, you know, engaging in all the other things that you get in a 4X game as well. The game looks huge. It's a monumental experience on the tabletop.
I see what they did there.
So if you like yourself a little bit of a 4X game with a little bit of a twist to it, and sort of adding into that modular nature of things so that things will be different every time you sit down to play, which is, I think, key with all the board games now, especially if you're going to be going in on something as big as this. You want it so that it's not going to be the same experience every time you sit down on the tabletop. But yeah, if you like the look of this one, go and check it out. They've got some really good gameplay videos and stuff, and a little bit more of an in-depth look at their rules as well on there. And of course, you can check out all the miniatures too, which I think will be a big draw for people that like their miniatures gaming as well as their board gaming. So.
Kickstarter only, though.
Kickstarter only?
Yeah.
Yep. So if you want in on this, you've got to get in on this because it's not going to retail. Nope. So we are seeing that more and more. Which it's one of those things. They can't expect every store to carry every product, and I think using Kickstarter this way is just one of those inevitabilities.
It's one of those things I'm a little sad about, because there is something nice about being able to find what you're looking for in a retail store, having physical copies available in that way. But at the same time, it's also very understandable, and it means that smaller companies can release these larger games without having to worry about warehouse space and stuff like that. So you can definitely see why it's becoming a more popular model.
I'm less worried about being able to get things from a store, because I don't think we have one in Northern Ireland. Not in years.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Yeah, go nuts with Kickstarter, folks, because it doesn't affect me.
Yeah. I've got to ask you though, with such an interesting selection of figures turning up in that, is there anyone from history that you guys would like to see thrown into this monumental game? Anyone you think would be fun to include? Oh, I've caught them out with this one.
You see, they've already got Tesla in there. They do have Shakespeare, I see, which means I'd like the person who wrote all of Shakespeare's plays, Francis Bacon, to be included in that one.
Oh, you're not starting that one.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you're not starting that one here.
Yeah. If they're going to have Shakespeare strolling around taking all the credit, they should at least have the talent on view. That's my feeling.
Let's have Abe Lincoln in there. I need a bit of Abe Lincoln, and then you can
Vampire killer.
hide it. Yeah, you can surreptitiously someone on his base for when he becomes a vampire killer.
I wouldn't even do it surreptitiously. Give him the axe right from the start. They've got Tesla in there carrying some sort of massive pack on his back and a huge brass fist. So they're obviously going for historical accuracy.
I would love it for Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunt. Yep. Oh, that film was actually a lot of fun. It was dumb, but it was fun. That would be a fun one to include. Yeah. Okay, well, that's us wrapped up for the Kickstarters this week. We're almost finished with the show, but before that, we're going to take a quick look at what you guys have been going on with our community spotlight. Okay? So, Ben, who is winning golden buttons this week?
Cool, yeah. So the first golden button goes up to Silver Stars, who's been working on some really nice-looking miniatures for the Fallout Wasteland Warfare set that came out from Modifius. And obviously, with Fallout 76 out at the moment as well, it was a good idea to sort of mix the two together here and show some of the work that's been going into these miniatures. I really like what Silver Stars is doing, because he's sort of taking a lot of what you see from the video games, specifically Fallout 4, and doing that kind of color palette in the miniatures here. So you can see there's really nice like spotty colors when you get the blue from the sort of overalls that you've got for the vault member there, the vault survivor. But then also you've got a lot more of those sort of like greens and browns being mixed into the sort of the other survivors, as well as then the big super mutants as well in their big rusty armor, which I thought was really good. So yeah, some absolutely stunning painting here, bringing these characters to life. The super mutants themselves look just as terrifying as they would in the video game, and I love, as I say, the work that's gone into the rusty metal on this. It's very, very cool as well, and it mixes really nicely with the pale skin. And that continues on into the actual sort of large mutant hound as well, which hopefully the survivor and Dogmeat are going to be able to take on these hounds in that picture there. I fear for Dogmeat's life, but otherwise I think these are absolutely fantastic. And also, well done on the photography, setting these up in some sort of the environments as well that you get in the game, and sort of where you're hopefully playing your games on as well, because it really brings the miniatures to life and shows off how your basing works with what you're doing as well, which I thought was really good. So a clap to Silver Stars there for his Fallout work.
Yeah, it's absolutely stunning, and Dogmeat does look like it is about to wee itself right there.
No, do you know what this is? This is when you've got like a wee Jack Russell that decides it can fight the village Alsatian.
Well, it could be that, but I'm still of the opinion it's about to just, if it doesn't wait, it's just going to shat everywhere. just saying, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Look at the size of those things. It's gone all Hulk.
If you actually bring the miniatures up again there, the painting is superb on these. Not even just the mutants, although the mutants look suitably disgusting.
The fur paint job on Dogmeat there is great. You can see the individual sort of brush strokes to give it that look like it is actually fur. It's not just a flat color.
And the texture on the fabrics, especially with like the Vault uniform there, if you can bring up some of the others.
I can indeed.
Yeah, these ones in particular, the denim they have, looks very textured and even dirty. There's got a good touch of dirt.
I will point out though that this particular redhead seems to have come from my mother's school of iron creases into your denims. She was a big fan of in the 80s. Denim jeans, you say, oh, it's got to have a crease. Look at that crease. Straight down there.
Well, we all know just how important good ironing is when the post-apocalypse comes. Just because the world has ended doesn't mean you have an excuse to look a state.
That's it. You've got to have standards. You might not have any food.
Yeah.
But you've got to have standards.
And an iron. Oh, you just remind me of when my mum visited me in Japan. She came to my apartment and she sat down for 2 minutes. I stepped out the door just to pick something up. When I came back, I found her ironing all my work uniform, everything.
Nice.
All the stuff that I had ironed that morning.
Obviously not right.
No, obviously not. Okay, moving on. We have Winter Brits from Krautwerk.
So yeah, Krautwerk has been working away on some more of his World War II stuff here, and as you can see, he's done some fantastic stuff here on these Winter Brits that could be dropped into games of World War II on the tabletop, like Bolt Action and Chain of Command. The thing I really liked about these is that, as well as having this sort of very like the green and the sort of drab is very much apparent across the entire miniature, but it's not been done in such a way that it becomes almost like a muddle. Everything still has a place. Everything has been highlighted and shaded really nicely. The faces then show up very, very nicely within the uniforms themselves, and I love the fact that they're slightly pale and red and pink from the sort of the cold that's hitting them as they're out in the woods and stuff trying to fight against the Germans and the Axis forces in Europe as well. I love the fact that the basing also works in a really nice way to not only give you the idea of this sort of like autumnal scene, but also do winter without having to do snow.
Yeah.
Because if you base all your miniatures in snow, they're going to suddenly look a lot different when you start to stick them down on those green battlefields that a lot of us have at gaming stores and in our own houses. Whereas if you go for this, which has got like that sort of muddy texture to it with the leaves on it, it could work for a lot of different things because, you know, mud is apparent pretty much everywhere in a war zone. And so you've got this really nice thing going on here. All the detail in these are fantastic. It's really nice to get close up and see the work that's been done on the eyes. Even if with some of them, he's done like full-on eyes. So he's done like the white with the pupils, but on some of them, he's just done the white just to pick it out as well, which I think works really, really nicely. All the work on the guns looks really good too, and I love the fact that everything is really nicely cohesively joined together by the basing and the sort of overall look of all the uniforms as a whole. So yeah, some really good stuff there for anyone who's interested in sort of learning a lot more about painting World War II figures, to go and check that out and learn what Krautwerk is doing over in the forums. So yeah, these were actually part of this, and the one before it were actually part of our What Are You Painting Now thread, which is a thread they've got on the website where you can show off what you're working on right now, but then also you can transfer this over and have links through to your project blogs, like we'll see in the next piece that we're looking at here, where you can go and check out more stuff in more detail and get feedback on it too. So,
what do you think of those ones, Jerry?
They are stunning. Even the likes of adding the stubble in, and that sort of thing. So they have the look of people who have been out in the field for X number of days. They work very well for Market Garden for Arnhem. As people pushing through there, or forces that have been sort of cut off and having to weather the storm. But yeah, it's some stunning work.
Yeah, they're very characterful ones.
Really nice miniatures as well. Does it say where they come from, or?
We didn't actually say, although I would imagine they're either Warlord or one of the other people out there that does the metal miniatures. It might be something like Eureka, potentially.
Yeah. Thanks for narrowing that down, Ben. Warlord or someone else?
Somebody who does it.
I think it's either Warlord or Eureka, something like that.
It might be Eureka. They don't look like they've got the separate heads.
Can you bring them up again?
Yeah. They don't look like they've got the separate heads that Warlord do. They look very much like they're in pose.
Yeah, one piece.
So I wonder if they're Eureka or possibly something like Empress, maybe.
They could be Empress. They could be First Corp as well.
Yeah, so I will have to go and have a wee look, because
I'm sure someone will educate us.
Yeah. Well, we'll find out. We'll stick it down. We'll stick it somewhere, and we'll find out. Somewhere. We'll
leave it in the comments below.
We'll make one of the monkeys put it in here.
Okay. And finally, we go for something sci-fi. So, Infinity Yu Jing.
Yeah, so
super fantastic, great, as Carlos would say.
This is Selden 9, who's been painting up some more stuff for his Yu Jing forces in Corpus Belli to Infinity.
Oh, wow.
The thing that really stuck out to me with these miniatures in particular was how the fact that he's gone with this very, very dark scheme for them, almost in their entirety when you look at the sort of under armor. But then when this is contrasted against the sort of bright orange for the rest of it, I think it works really, really nicely. It's not done in such like a sort of anime manga style as you would have seen for the likes of a lot of Corpus Belli stuff, but it goes into the kind of almost like a trend which I saw for a lot of the different pieces that came up this week, where you've got these very muted tones but still working with bright colors in a really nice way. So you can kind of get the idea that these are using soldiers and using characters that are very much out there in the field fighting all the time. So you've got that very much more of like a battlefield look, rather than just sort of like we're proudly on display sort of Overwatch style kind of characters, which I thought was really cool. But yeah, some really nice stuff here working on the oranges, and it contrasts over nicely into seeing those really nice spot colors as well. So you've got some like light blues and light greens that can be shown up on the sort of cuffs of the uniforms and the armor too, sort of give the models a little bit more of a pinprick of light in there too, which is really good. And and I love the scenic bases as well. Really nice thing to see with their skirmish games, to have those big scenic bases.
The bases really set it off for me, because when you see an awful lot of Infinity, they're on very clean, very manga or anime style basing, and it looks like they've just walked down a street that's been swept 2 minutes before them.
Yeah.
Whereas this looks like it's the middle of a war zone, and I even like the way the texture carries on down the side of the base. So normally you would get a scenic base, and you would get the lip of it has been painted pristine black, and it's very noticeable. He's blended the base itself almost down to the table.
Yeah, that bright yellow effect he's got going on the base, it makes it almost look like a chemical hellscape to walk here across. It's very effective.
I'm guessing he's done it to mix and match with his table, in which case I would love to see his table and scenery, because it has the feel that it is some sort of fallouty urban toxic landscape. So if you have a table with all of that on that, Sheldon, I want to see pictures.
Yeah, please let us.
These are. Has he got a forum project for this?
I think these are in the. I think this is from the What Are You Painting Now forum thread.
That last one's from the project, so you can go check out his project.
Can you click through to that, please?
Can I?
Yes.
Probably not.
Well, you see just click the title there.
Okie dokie.
Let's see what happens.
Target. Stay on target.
No, it takes us through to the what are you painting now thread.
See.
Oh,
Cheated
okay.
me.
Well, it shouldn't have done that, but nevertheless, I'm sure that is a kink that we can work out. But anyway.
Well, if there's not already loads of scenery and basing things in there, if that's doable, if you have it, and I'm assuming you do, because the way you've done the basing, I'd love to see that.
Yeah.
And we'll find the project thread at some point.
Well, 3 very well-deserved golden buttons there. Some incredible painting going on. And remember, if you want to show off the work you're doing at the moment, be sure to head over to OnTableTop.com and join in with our What Are You Painting Now thread, or set up a project piece. We love checking out what people are working on.
And it doesn't have to be world-class paint jobs.
No, otherwise I wouldn't be able to post.
Because there have been some great projects recently. We were last week, Ragnar got a golden button. He's literally just dipping his toe into wargaming. And I think he's only with sort of first 20 or so models. And there's been conversations going back and forth with myself and a few other people where he's been going, what do you think about this? And we've been giving him a bit of advice. So seeing projects like that means you can go up and help somebody, give people encouragement, give them suggestions, or tell them what works well and what doesn't work. And it's that sort of feedback where you can actually interact with the rest of the community works really well in the projects.
Yeah.
Because I know sometimes it gets lost in the what are you painting now thread. There's if you're not following it immediately, you can all of a sudden go back in and find that there's been 20 comments and people have sort of missed things. But yeah, projects that are nice.
Yeah, the projects are a good way to keep everything
self-contained.
Self-contained, and to let you show off the different stages of your own work a bit. Yeah, I absolutely love checking them out. Okay, before we finish for today, it's competition time.
Competition time.
We are going to announce last week's competition winner, and of course we have a new competition running this week. So first off, last week you could comment for the chance to win Warhammer Quest Blackstone Fortress. I wasn't here last week. That is a great prize.
It is a great prize, even though it does have some sort of terrible Imperial vapor.
Imperial vapor?
One of the characters just vapes. That's all he does. He just walks about with cherry brandy vape.
Kill him with fire. Okay. Yeah, the winner for that one was chosen from the comments on OnTabletop.com, and it was Mean Bone. Mean Bone, congratulations. You're getting an awesome copy of Warhammer Quest Blackstone Fortress upon its release.
Congrats, well done.
Yeah, be sure to head over to OnTabletop.com, head up and put in your claim a prize form. Okay. For this week, we have something pretty exciting. Archon are running a Kickstarter for Rampart Terrain. If you can bring that Kickstarter page up there. Yeah, here it is. So this is a Kickstarter page for magnetized modular terrain. It looks absolutely beautiful. And for this week, Archon have agreed to give away one $149 pledge level. So you get a lot in that one. To win this prize, all you have to do is comment below, either on YouTube or on tabletop.com, and you can let us know what kind of landscapes would you build with these sets. What would you like to see on the Archon Rampart set? Yep.
Yeah, and just so you're aware, with this means that it's a whole bunch of different core sets of the Rampart designs of your choice. So there's like the sci-fi one, or there's a slightly more sort of lizard man-y Aztec Mayan design as well. So there's some interesting things to throw into the mix there, which is really cool. So.
Have you had a chance to take a look over this as yet?
I had a look over it last week, and the idea of the magnetic clips is great, because you could just go clink, 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 clink. Not sure how well that will store. I imagine you'll start putting things into a box and it will suddenly spring out again.
You have a ball of terrain.
I love that idea. You just you're putting everything away into a box and suddenly a building springs out of it.
But the detail work they've done on both this and the Aztec style is absolutely stunning. It's very Imperial Gothic without being Imperial Gothic, because they have left off all the bags of skulls, which is always good. And the Aztec stuff. The Aztec, I really like the fact that they've gone with that as a style, because generally anytime you see a fantasy bit of kit coming out, it tends to be sort of Tudor-esque.
Yeah.
So you end up with a lot of timber frame type of buildings. See if I can actually, there we go. Now we're cooking with gas. Whereas this, being able to throw this down, and it is very lizard man-y, but likewise it could be, if you want to actually do Mayan or Aztec fighting, you can have that. It's just a very peculiar and unique look. And also being able to build massive ziggurats is always good for a laugh. So yeah, it's really interesting that they've decided to go that way.
Yeah, definitely. Now, of course, lizard men were my first love in gaming, so I was very excited to see someone finally doing some really cool Aztec-y, Mayan-y sort of terrain for them.
Shame they're all dead.
Yeah. Shh, don't say it.
They're back as the Seraphon now.
No, don't say that word. That is a dirty word. Do not say that, Ben. Okay, so yeah, if you want to be in with a chance of winning a $149 pledge level for the Archon's Rampart terrain set, just leave a comment below letting us know what kind of landscapes you would like to build. In the meantime, if you want to see more of us talking about tabletop gaming and all the great things that are going on in the hobby, come back tomorrow for XLBS, where I think we're going to be plucking on the heartstrings a bit, this one. Should be a very interesting topic. In the meantime, Jerry, thank you very much for joining us this week.
Tatty bye.
Ben, thanks again.
Bye.
And we will carry on and see you in the next one.
Go ahead and check out our other content on screen now, and be sure to check out beastsofwar.com for the latest gaming news and gaming Let's Plays. And while you're at it, why not hit subscribe and remember to ding our dong. Go on, you know you want to click it. Go on.